Okay, I want to do a little recap here about my experiences, I guess from a teenager to getting drafted, what that experience was like for me. I guess I want to start out the beginning of the summer of 1963. I was 15, looking for something to do for the summer. My uncles were always very supportive, and my one uncle came and he said that, hey, there was a guy at the gas station up the road. It was an Exxon station. He was looking for a gas pump jockey, somebody to pump gas and wipe windshields and do that kind of stuff. And if I was interested, I was to go up there, and he would tell him that I was going to come up and look and apply for the job. So I said, yeah. So I'm looking for something to do, some kind of work. So I went up. I met a guy named Charlie Reardon. He ran the gas station. He was the owner. Back then, you didn't really own the gas station. You were the designated manager of the gas station at that point, because Exxon owned everything. So I got the job, and I used to go up there every day during the summer. He started me at $3 an hour, which I was very happy to get $3 an hour. And I wound up working 30 to 40 hours a week, pumping gas, wiping windshields, checking oil, checking tires for the people, giving directions, because I lived in the area, so people would come down, where's this road, where's that road, you help them out. And the guys that worked there at the gas station were very nice. They taught me an awful lot about cars. Cars weren't really that difficult in this 1960s. There wasn't all this electronics and sensors and everything. So we learned how to fix engines, change transmissions, do clutch jobs, replace wheel bearings, do brakes, all that stuff, how to do tune-ups. So it was quite an experience over the, because I wound up working there all through high school. So, and it was a pretty scary time too, because the Vietnam War was going on, and everybody was talking about getting drafted and what was going to happen and how many people were being killed or hurt or missing in action over there. So it was pretty scary times when you listened to that, the news and everything in the evenings. But anyway, I got through that. I was about 18 and a half, out of high school, still working at the gas station, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And you couldn't get into college at that point. The colleges were full. Everybody was fighting to get into college. The affluent people all had their kids in there with deferments and everything. So I had to just go with the roll of the dice there and see what was going to happen to me. Well, and you eventually do get the letter from the draft board that it's time for you to come down and do your physical. We already had to register when we were 18 at the post office. So I had to go to Media, Pennsylvania, because I lived in Marple, Newtown, is where I went to high school. I lived in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. So I get the letter, report to the draft office in Media, Pennsylvania, and I'm going to have to go to 401 North Broad for my draft physical. So, okay, I get up a little late. I have to be there 6 o'clock in the morning. No really place to park. I had no idea and didn't go there and try to check the place out beforehand. I wound up parking at a parking meter right out front of the draft board. And went inside, and there's, I don't know, got to be 60, 70 guys inside. We're all there for the same reason. So we hang out there for a little bit. He puts us on a bus, and the bus takes us to 401 North Broad. So we get down to 401 North Broad, and they were nice to you at the beginning when you got inside. Then they turned you over to some sergeants and young lieutenants, and they marched you through the process, as they called it. There's a process you have to go through. You get a folder. You have to make sure you have all the right paperwork in your folder. And as you go from station to station, they check your folder to make sure everything's good, and they sign that you had your physical, that you had your hearing test. They make you take off all your clothes except your underwear. So you're standing there in 401 North Broad with all these guys around, and you're standing in line with your folder. That's all you have, and you have a paper bag with all your civilian clothes in it, and you're barefoot. So we're going down, and they give you a couple different physical things. They look you over to make sure you don't have flat feet, to make sure you're not missing fingers or toes or anything. and they sit you down in a room. It's a kind of a dark room. They put you in there on a bench, and they give you 2 push buttons, one in each hand, and they put headphones on you. And he says, okay, if you hear something in your left ear, you push the left button. If you hear something in your right ear, you push the right button. If you hear something in both ears, you push both buttons. And you sit there for 3 or 4 minutes, and you get a tone in your left ear, and you do what you're told. You push the right button if you hear it in your right ear. If you hear it in the center of your head, it's coming through both ears, you push both buttons. Opens the door, grabs you out, signs the folder that you passed that test, gives it back to you. You go down to the next area, and they give you this chart. You have to identify a depth for depth perception. You have to identify if you're colorblind. They give you certain things with numbers of different, slightly different color. Everything is red, but the number 2 is a little different color red, and you have to be able to pick out those things to see if you're colorblind, to see if you have any kind of physical things that would make you not qualified for the military. So we go through all of that, and everybody's kind of rude to you, to be honest with you, because I guess they're processing you like cattle, have to keep you moving through the whole process. And they give you some kind of a ham and cheese sandwich on some stale bread and some kind of juice or something for lunch. You only get like 15 minutes to eat that if you want it. And it's a pretty scary experience. And they give you some testing to do. And they check your math skills, they check your spelling skills, they check your mechanical skills, electronic skills. They have all these different little tests that they do on you. Paperwork tests. You have to, they sit you down and give you a piece of paper, and you have to read and comprehension and all that. And you get all that done, and they get you back in your clothes, back in your civilian clothes. You're allowed to get dressed at that point. They take your folders away from you because it's their file, not yours. And they put you back on the bus, and you have to go take your ride from 401 North Broad in Philadelphia down to Media, where I left my car. Now I get there. It was a very scary day. I was very happy to get back. Was really nervous because everybody was getting drafted at that point. And I go over to my car, and there's like 9 different parking tickets on the car. Every 2 hours I got another ticket because it was a 2-hour meter. So every 2 hours that I didn't pay the meter, I got another ticket. So I had over $100 worth of tickets accumulated during the day. I tried to go argue with the guy that I shouldn't have to pay these. I was going down to the draft board. I couldn't be late for that, and he didn't want to hear it. I had to pay the tickets. So not only did it take the whole day out of my life and scare the hell out of me, I had to pay over $100 in parking tickets at the same time. Well, you wonder what's going to happen next, and all of a sudden you get that letter 6 weeks later. It's time for you to report you're going to be drafted. You are drafted. You're to report at the same place. It's a little different. It was just down the street from the draft board. There was a restaurant there that was called the Country Squire. No, I don't think it was called the Country Squire. I can't think of the name for it right now. It was a restaurant right down the street from that. And we had to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. My dad went with me. And so we go there, and they have the restaurant open. And the restaurant was full of kids my age and their dads. Some moms were there, some mom and dads. And we go in, and the VFW is there. And they're greeting everybody. How are you? This will be a good experience for you. We're so proud of you to do all this. They got coffee, juice, and donuts. And the Salvation Army is there, and they're giving out little shaving kits, a little like a shoe box. There's a razor in there, a bar of soap, toothpaste, toothbrush, and I forget what else. Maybe some fragrance or something. I don't know. But they gave you this little kit, the survival kit, and wished you good luck. And so all of a sudden, the lieutenant comes in. And he says, okay, gentlemen, it's time to go. I need everybody to stand up here in 2 lines. Parents, please step aside. So we had to line up in 2 columns. And he tells us that we're going to go outside. We're going to go get directly onto the buses. We're going to listen to the instructions and follow the instructions that we're given. When we get outside, we're to get right on the bus. We're not supposed to question anything. There'll be no talking. So we figured, wow, this is really weird. What is going on? So I looked at my dad, and you could see the fear in his eyes. My dad was in the Army, served in World War II, along with two of his brothers. His one brother, Mike, who I was named after, never came back from Europe. He was killed there. So he was really scared. But he was trying to be up. I have to give him credit. He was smiling and gave me a hug and everything. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Kind of do that. So they opened the doors for us to go outside. And across the street from the restaurant in the parking lot is a high school band. They are banging on the drums and playing the trumpets and playing songs as loud as they can. So we come out of the restaurant, and then we notice that down the end of each end of the street, there's barricades and there's protesters screaming, and the band is playing as loud as it can to drown out the protesters. And these military people are screaming at us, keep moving, get on the bus, don't look, get on the bus, get on the bus, get on the bus. We all get on the bus. The police are trying to keep the people from getting through the barricades. We get on the bus, they shut the door, one of the military guys is on there, and he's hollering at us, look down, don't look outside, look down, don't look outside. Some of the protesters had gotten through the police barricades and were banging on the side of the bus. Don't go, get off the bus, we'll help you get off the bus. And the lieutenant wouldn't let anybody even look outside. If you were looking outside, you got hollered at, look down, what are you doing, look down. So anyway, the police opened up the barricades at one end of the street, and the buses started to move. Protesters were running out in front of the bus. Police were tackling them, dragging them out of the way, and the buses slowly moved away from the media restaurant that we were in. And we headed down towards 401 North Broad again. And so it was a long, quiet ride. We got down there, and like I said, Lieutenant, no talking on the bus. Everybody sat there quietly. You get off the bus, single file, right into the draft center down there, and you start all over again with your physical. They give you another physical. They make sure you have the right paperwork. They take your folder away from you. They ask you who you are, where you live, what's your address, and they make sure that you are the right person that the folder they're holding, and then they just push it back into your chest. So then they move to the next person. Everything is very rude and very dominating. They're trying to, dominate everybody, that they are in fact in charge of what's going on there. So next thing they say, that everybody has to get out in the hallway, and they line all of us up on one side of this very long hallway. And we had to stand up straight, backs against the wall, looking straight ahead. And about every 5 to 10 feet, there was a military MP standing there looking at us. He's standing in the middle of the hallway, in the corridor. And coming from one end, it was a captain from the U.S. Marine Corps. And he had a couple sergeants with him. And they were walking down the hallway, and they would walk up to these guys and look them in the face, and they said, you step to the other side of the hallway. Then they would walk down a few guys, and he would point at somebody else. He wouldn't really point at you. He would poke you in the chest and say, move to the other side of the hallway. No please, no nothing, just poke you in the chest and move to that side of the hallway. Now, this guy actually stopped in front of me, looked me right in the face, and poked the guy next to me in the chest, moved to the other side of the hallway. And he kept going down the hallway. Must have been a couple dozen guys that had to step to the other side of the hallway. And then he gets down there and he says, congratulations, gentlemen. The people on this side of the hallway are now going into the U.S. Marine Corps. Please follow me. And the MPs made sure that everybody went that way and went down that end of the hallway and into the room wherever he took them. We never saw those guys again. I don't even know what happened to them. Well, the rest of us had to go back into another room. It was a very big room. We had to get in different columns in a formation. It had to be 20 guys in a line, maybe 5, 10 lines deep. And at the front of the room, there was an American flag and some other veteran flags or something at a podium. Now, Lieutenant goes up to the podium and he says, gentlemen, he says, what I'm going to do, he says, I'm going to read a statement, then I'm going to call your name. And when I call your name, you step forward one step. That steps you into the Army. You're going to be officially inducted into the Army right here, right now, today. So he says, and everybody just be quiet and stand still while we do this process. I'm ready to begin. As soon as he said that, the back door opened. Probably 15, 20 MPs come in and lined up across the back of the room. So he says, oh man, this, what's going to happen now? So he starts calling out names and geysers. He reads the thing, I so-and-so am now going to be in the military, and by my stepping forward, I am officially inducted into the military, something like that. And he starts calling out the names, and the guys are stepping forward. Every once in a while, he would get to a guy who would just freak out. I'm not going anywhere. Let me out of here. I'm not going to take a step forward. They could take a step backwards. They would start acting up. Bam, 3 MPs are on this guy. Wrestle him, get him out of the room as quickly as possible. Had to be 8, 10, 12 guys did that while we went through the process. And we were all officially in the Army at that point. So they made sure everybody had their right folder towards the end of the day. All the testing was done. We had to take the test, like I say, for mechanics, for electronics, for all kinds of different things. And we had to form a 2-column unit, and we had to walk at that point from 401 North Broad to 30th Street, which was 26 blocks. And that's where we were going to get to train. And the train was going to take us to basic training in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So we were walking down in a long column, two men wide, and we had military people walking next to us, escorting us to the train station. Everybody had their folder, and that's all you had. You had nothing else except the clothes you were wearing and your folder. Get down to the train station. Now, we've been in these clothes all day long. Get down to the train station, had about 2 hours before the train was scheduled to pick us up. I called my home, and my family came down, my mom, dad, and my brothers and sisters, and we visited for about an hour. And then the lieutenant came over and says, okay, gentlemen, time to say your goodbyes. It's time to get on the train. And we said goodbyes and went down and got on the train. And again, I could see the fear in my parents' eyes. My brothers and sisters were too young to realize what was going on. But my dad and mom were definitely afraid, because Vietnam was not a very pleasant thing to be involved in at that point. So we get down, we get on the train, everybody gets into a seating car. While we're in a seating car, they give you an assigned roommate. We got a room, a sleeper with 2 bunk beds in it. And because this is now 7 o'clock at night, and we're going to be on the train all night long to go to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. We had a layover in Baltimore. We had another layover in some obscure little town on the way. But in the morning at dawn, we were going to be at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So I didn't sleep a wink all night. It was pretty scary. Didn't know what to expect. Some of the guys were very upset, crying. Some of the guys were laughing, trying to make the best of it. So you just do what you have to do. Now, the double bunk in the sleeper room, the bunks were like 5 feet 10 inches, and I'm 6'2". Really didn't even fit in the bunk. The bunk was very uncomfortable. I did lay there for a little while. I wound up sitting on the edge of it, just worrying about what's going to happen next. Well, it didn't take long. We got to Fort Bragg, and the sun was just coming up, and the military guy greets us at the train, and we get off the train, and no more buses. Put us in the back of a 2.5-ton truck, screaming at us, drill sergeants with their drill sergeant hats on, take you down to this, I guess it was like a barber shop, shaved all your hair off your head, took you over to the uniform place, and you just got an ugly green uniform. And that's how I wound up in the Army, and that's how I wound up in basic training. A very scary experience up to that point.